Now, I'm sure you clicked on the title either knowing what this is about or not, but for those who don't know, this is about the drag show that was held for kids in Dallas, Texas.
This is the Drag the Kids to Pride event at Mr. Mister's in Dallas's Oaklawn neighborhood. Organizers promoted it as a family-friendly drag show where kids danced with the performers.
Now, I've usually defended gay rights, and I wasn't even offended by Nickelodeon and what they did back in June 2021 when they had Blue's Clues feature a gay pride parade, but, shit like this always seemed to happen in June, I guess. From my understanding, it was a Dallas gay bar with a show called Drag Your Kids to Pride, and was billed as a family-friendly version of their normal drag show held at the place. On the surface, it sounds like something that absolutely should not be happening, at least for children. As perception is reality, this is definitely added fuel for those who say they're grooming our kids into this lifestyle, and you know what? Based off this event, I say they have a point. And there's definitely things about this event that I cannot defend. At the same time, those who might defend the rights of this event could be pointing out, well, hey, Mardi Gras exists, and kids have been going to those parades despite people wearing skimpy outfits and exposing themselves. And hey, you have cheerleaders at sports games wearing skimpy clothes and dancing provocatively. And let's not forget Hooters as a kids menu, because dads often bring their young sons there. You know what? They're right. And I also hated it when my ex's ex-husband would take their kid to Hooters because we didn't want him going to Hooters. I have also seen kids at heavy metal concerts, where sometimes the bands invite them on stage. You know, at shows where people get drunk and use drugs, and sometimes women take their shirts off too. So there is plenty of things in this world that require parental guidance and discretion for kids. So when people tell me that those who are offended by the Dallas drag show event really need to pick their battles, I say they also have a point. With that said, we haven't been getting political battles and pushes over the last couple years on whether or not Hooters should be allowed at public libraries. But we've had Drag Queen Story Hour at public libraries. At the same time, you've had a California lawmaker in response to the backlash of this event who proposes a mandatory drag class for K-12 students. And of course, you had the infamous Florida bill that people called the Don't Say Gay bill, even though that's not what it was called, and it applied for anything preventing any sexuality talks being discussed by teachers, whether straight or gay, for pre-K to third graders. So yes, there seems to be a political battle on when kids nowadays should be learning about the adult subjects and different forms of expression. I am on the side that says it should be done by parents in the privacy of their own home, not at public schools. Schools can preach tolerance and acceptance all they want in public, as parents should also be reinforcing. But yes, mature subjects like sexuality, I don't think need to be shoved down kids' throats in school curriculum when they're still kindergartners. The thing is, I cannot speak for parents who brought their kids to the show. I want to think that there was no hidden woke agenda for these parents. I cannot speak for the people who held this show nor performed at it. I want to think that there was no nefarious intention for the venue or the dancers. I cannot speak for the people who are offended by it. I want to think that those who are offended by it are offended for the right reasons, such as protecting the innocence of children as long as possible.
Do you think that exposing children to drag will lead children to do drag in the future in the long run?
Not if they don't want to do drag. I'm a gay man and I don't want to do drag.
Do you think exposing children to drag will result in more kids doing drag eventually?
I think so.
Do you think exposing kids to drag will make more children go into drag eventually?
I feel like yes, because I feel drag is such like an art form. There's so much dancing, there's hair, there's wigs, there's makeup.
I'm not even defending the event itself. By no means do I think something like this was okay. And I do not think children should be there, period. But I'm not the parents who decided it was okay for children to be there. What I can offer is an insight based on what my thoughts were about these things while growing up as an innocent child, getting exposed to mature subjects. When my oldest brother got married in 1995, I remember the revelation when I noticed his wife had 2 sets of parents, not knowing her biological parents divorced and remarried. So as an 8-year-old, it was pretty simple. Oh, hey, my nephew has 3 sets of grandparents. Well, I have 2. He's super lucky. And then, of course, I get a little older and remember when my other brother got married, learning that his wife was already pregnant. So their kid's going to come in 9 months? No, she's already pregnant. What? That can happen? Yes, Anthony. They had sex before they were married. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. And then on home video in the late 90s, I remember watching the movie The Birdcage with my mom and sister. And for those who don't know what that movie's about, it stars Robin Williams and Nathan Lane playing a gay couple who run a drag show. To this day, it's still one of my favorite comedies of all time. But I can still remember being a child watching this movie with my family and saying, oh, there's men in this movie who act and dress like women. Okay, that's funny. Plenty of the cartoons I watch would feature male characters sometimes wearing dresses for comedic effects. Bugs Bunny, anyone? And I also grew up with my sister who did theater, and sometimes I'd see a major role usually played by a female, played by a guy. Including my best friend in 8th grade, a guy playing the Wicked Witch of the West in a Wizard of Oz production. And again, I come from a time where kids in school would say, oh, that's gay, you're gay, as a way of saying, that's stupid, or you're stupid, or that gay meant bad. Because in the movie, the comedy comes from Robin Williams trying to play straight to convince a conservative couple to give their daughter's blessing for marriage. I was almost in denial that Robin Williams' character Armand was gay. So then my sister would tell me, no, Anthony, Armand and Albert are gay. And then I had to learn what gay really meant. Oh, Robin Williams' character is gay. Oh. But in the movie, it's so well written and acted that it's still one of the funniest movies ever, in my opinion. So, like everyone growing up, I had my ways of losing my innocence and learning what things really were being raised in a conservative household. Where am I going with this? Well, you have to think, how old were these kids at this drag show? They were probably the same age, if not younger than I was when I first watched The Birdcage, and that was 1997. And I pointed out in past videos that kids in 2020 who grow up in liberal households are more likely to already know about this lifestyle in some form or another, especially if they're taken to pride events like the parades, whereas we know aren't exactly always family friendly either. Kids allegedly wearing t-shirts saying trans lives matter and don't mess with trans kids probably didn't know what everything meant, nor understood what was really going on. So it's very possible that some of the kids thought, oh, these guys are just funny dancers in women's clothing, much like I thought when I was their age. Only, as we want to point out, this is a time we live in an age where Nina West can be seen dancing on Nickelodeon commercials, or Blue's Clues, and of course we have RuPaul's Drag Race that's been going on for multiple seasons, and we've had drag acts featured on national television like on America's Got Talent. So it's not like kids haven't been exposed to this in recent years. But it does seem obvious in some of the clips that there were kids here that clearly did not want to be there. And in some of the segments where kids are asked to march on stage with one of the queens, you can see one kid doing what kids usually do when they're not comfortable and don't want to be there. The whole hunch over, face down, body language kind of a thing with his shrugged shoulders. That kid should not have been forced to be there, or should not have been forced to participate if that was the case. That I cannot defend. Any kid that didn't want to be there should not have been there. And then you have this from a journalist who was there who witnessed some of the disturbing things.
And they have a kid sitting there at the bar as well. And he's sitting there with his face, plugged into his Nintendo 3DS. He doesn't care about the drag stars, doesn't care about anything going on there. His mom's trying to get him to pay attention. He doesn't care, still playing his games. And I overheard a conversation that was really startling. It was, he was talking to the bartender, and he said, "No, I'm not gay." And his mom butted in, interrupted this child, and said, "No, he is gay. Don't let him lie to you. He is." And the kid, you could just tell he was super uncomfortable. He obviously wasn't gay, but his mom's telling everyone he's gay. And he just sat there and played Nintendo the entire time. And he didn't care to be there, didn't care about anything going on. And meanwhile, you have the parents on the other side of the aisle giving their kids money. They're wearing Trans Lives Matter shirts. They're wearing all of these shirts that they don't even know what it means, but just because their mom told them that it would look nice. And they're giving these kids money and having them throw it on them like this is some kind of strip club.
That is grooming. That is undefendable. That is wrong. I know the fucking difference between grooming and just simply being a parent that encourages and supports your child's life decisions. There's people in my life we consider family, even though they're not blood related. This woman had twins, both girls. One of them chose to transition into a boy at a young age. And again, I'm not normally in favor of children transitioning, but as they are family, I have visited and stayed at this kid's home and interacted with this kid many times, seen how happy the kid is. and of course spoke to the mother, and she just supported what the kid chose to do as long as the kid was happy. She was very clear that she did not do any of the decision making herself. That is far different than the parents basically forcing their kids to be there and pushing them into something they're not. I bet you the kid in that clip who shrugged his shoulders here was probably told by the parent to wear that rainbow shirt. So the way I see it, any kid that didn't want to be there or was uncomfortable with it, but having pushed on anyway, that is fucking grooming, especially when it was pushed on them. It's the same with any parent that pushes for their kids at young ages to be a different gender than the one they want to identify as, just so the parent can fit in with the woke crowd. Yes, that event being held is disturbing enough, but the kids who were forced to be there because of parents trying to fit in and all that bullshit make this something that cannot be defended. So it begs the question, how is this event even legal? To my understanding in Texas, the venue of this type, you must be 21 or older to enter. More specifically, a sexually oriented business. So even if it's not a gay bar, then it probably means adult shops too, right? The same bill is supposed to prevent kids from not being close to possibly being sexually exploited in venues like this. I mean, a sign that says in neon letters it's not going to lick itself isn't an obvious indicator what type of venue this is? That's family friendly? Oh, they don't know they don't know what it means. They don't think anything of it.
Just a really big weekend for everyone to be themselves in a community where they know they're accepted, except for these assholes outside.
You people are the symptom of a dying society, and you know it.
You're scaring children! Shut the
We're
fuck
scaring
up!
children.
Shut the
But
fuck
not you.
up! Shut the fuck up!
You are child
Shame
abusers,
on you!
and you're not a real
Shame
woman.
on you!
What do you say to the children whose parents wouldn't bring them to an event like this?
There is love. If you're not feeling it from your parents, someone loves you. We love you.
I would like to think that an event like this was done with good intentions, like what some of the drag queens themselves were saying about showing kids it's a place of love and acceptance. As, yes, sadly, many kids will grow up, question their sexuality when they get old enough and that time happens, and may get rejected by their family for it. But parents forcing their kids to be there? Nope, that's wrong. Having kids being given money to throw around the queens like it's a strip joint? That's wrong. I don't care if it's a drag show at a gay bar or at a showgirl strip joint on Double D night. Kids shouldn't be doing stuff like that at all. I will 100% agree with that. From what I understand about drag shows, they're not all the same. Some of them are more sexualized and provocative, like rap videos, giving them a run for their money. Some of them are more about comedy and performance than anything. So if you're going to advertise a family-friendly event, it's probably wise not to have "it's not going to lick itself" in glowing neon letters for everyone to see. Just a thought. If it was just a performance with comedy and dancing, that's one thing. But kids being given money, some of them reportedly pushed into, throwing it around like a strip joint? Nope, that's not family-friendly anymore. And yeah, you're going to get the people who are going to say, no, there's nothing sexual about this. They don't understand. This isn't going to lead to child sexual exploitation. How do you explain this photo? Some have said it's a man in drag. Others have said, no, it's a woman at a burlesque parlor. But either way, why would you encourage this? Oh no, it's just a costume party. It's just free expression. Kids should be in drag and be able to express themselves freely. That's fine and dandy, but what do you call when Queen Lactatia, a child drag queen, is in a photo shoot touching a naked man's schlong? That is child abuse. At that point, whether the kid knows it or not, that is why people are pushing back against drag shows being presented to kids. It's not because people are homophobic or hate gays, it's because they don't agree with anything that can lead to the over-sexualization of children, whether it is straight or whether it is homosexual. Anything that leads to this, I cannot defend. And as I've said before, every child is different. There is a time and a place for kids to learn about the birds and the bees, and the bees and the bees, and everything in between. But parents have to recognize when a kid is ready and not force it on them because they want to, or because they want to raise the kids a certain way, to identify a certain way, and be more woke. If you yourself have no problem with shows like this existing for children, I would love to hear your opinion why. This is an open discussion. And if you yourself believe that this is wrong at all levels, same thing. please comment so. I am looking forward to hearing your comments and opinions. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.